We have Aaron Aldrich talking about, oh, there he is, talking about better living through storytelling. Give it up. You got to clap when people come up.
Hello. Oh, hey, my slides. So I am Aaron Aldrich. I'm going to talk about this. Those are the wrong slides. I got the wrong company there. I work for Elastic now, but it's going to say Cage Data on all the slides. That's all right. So better living through storytelling. I want to talk about storytelling. It's something we do as a species. It's something we've done from the beginning of time. Before there were Facebook walls, we had cave walls, and subtweeting probably involved actual birds. I think a lot of it informs how we process information. A lot of our cognitive biases come from either having too much information, too little information, either needing to make a quick decision, or trying to figure out what's important, what should we remember. So we kind of build a narrative to go through that for us. So this even happens with abstract information. So we've done a study in the, people have done a study in the 40s with abstract shapes moving around a screen, and then they had to describe what they saw. And everyone except one person told a story with that. They invented motives for those shapes, and someone got kicked out of the house. The triangle was angry. They always invented a narrative for those shapes. Take this for instance. A text conversation can have three possible answers that all convey the same data, but tell three very different stories. Maybe this is a dinner you go to every week. Maybe it's someone you haven't seen in a long time. Maybe you're running late and you don't actually want to be there anyway. And it has to do with the data we deal with daily as well. Do I care that I've gotten 100,000 unique visitors this week or this month to my website? Is that normal? Is that because we've been featured in a news story? Do I need to prepare my sales team or build new software? Or what about if we're trying to pitch a new feature? We could come up with a bunch of facts and figures and a bunch of points of why we think it should be developed, but that just provides a bunch of points to develop counterpoints or reasons why we shouldn't. It gives you something to argue with, which is fine. We want to have logic in there somewhere, but consider a compelling user story. What if the feature we have here is something that a nonprofit organization could really use to make a real difference in the world, and if only we could do this, they could increase their capacity 50%. It's a lot more compelling to develop that feature now, because it ties into our emotions. But it doesn't have to be all good all the time. You know, once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. It's not that it's going to be easy, or that we're going to be able to accomplish this, or that we might even fail and we might lose our lives, but what we're doing is so important that it must be done. We're going to be successful or fail so spectacularly, they will continue to talk about us long afterward. It's about engaging emotions. It might make us happy cat or a grumpy cat, but there's an emotional tie in there. CGP Cray does a great video on YouTube about how emotions convey ideas and how they spread throughout the environment. Anger being particularly virulent and kind of dangerous to use. It's worth watching and seeing more information there. But that's half of it. If we're all just telling stories, we're sort of shouting into the void. We need someone to listen on the other side of that. And they've shown that that improves empathy. People that are transported to a story are more empathetic. They did another study where some folks were given a story to read and then gauged vague emotions in photographs. And those that had been reading the story were more likely to interpret an emotion as fear versus anger. So that person's more fearful for themselves rather than angry at me. We start to transport ourselves into the other person's shoes. And what happens here is we're engaging in a new world and in a new mindset. We might be reading something and transported to another way of thinking, the way another person thinks. And that might be something we agree with, and yes, we cheer along with them or cry along with them. Or it might be something we haven't experienced before, something challenging to who we are. And you can kind of think, I haven't thought about it that way. We're engaging the theory of mind, which is kind of the concept that not only do I have a brain in my head, but you do too. And consequently, complex motivations, and you aren't just a flat character in my story. For instance, the person that I might get a drink from in back there isn't just waiting for me to show up in order to open a vendor dialog so I can select the drink from a list and exchange currency. After this, they might have plans, or they might have hopes and dreams, or be happy or sad. They're also a real person. But this is kind of where it gets hard to continue to engage here, because if we're going to try to be real people with each other, we can't necessarily be our work selves at work, or our friends' selves at friends' place. We kind of have to be honest about who we are, which might be a little bit vulnerable. It's kind of hard to expose all of those aspects of ourselves and be around character all the time. We might not like all of that. But here's kind of a quote that sums up why I think it's important. This is from one of my more favorite sci-fi novels, Speaker for the Dead, which is part of the Ender Game saga. I think it's better than the first book. But when you really know somebody, you can't hate them. Or maybe it's just that you can't really know them until you stop hating them. If we really get to know who we are, we build that empathy with each other, and we can come together rather than driving us apart. It's not about whether design or programming or testing is better, but how we can come together to work as a team. So with that, I want to give you this opportunity. You're at CodeMash to meet with a bunch of really cool people, and you can be face-to-face and have really awesome conversations you can't have anywhere else. So take this opportunity to, get to know who people really are as real people and be excellent to each other. Thank you.